I'm also not going to start this one with a peace greeting for a reason you can understand. You see the title. This is part 3, and I'm going to explain a bit more about what I meant in part 2. As an example, while I was converting part 2 into a video to upload, and then as I was uploading it, I decided to go ahead and read the lyrics because somebody made a reference to Destiny Child's song Soldier. And I decided, well, y'all, as you know, the music that I like is largely percussion, because as a Muslim, wind and string instruments, they start arguments. Some say they're automatically wrong every time. Others say that it's not so much that they themselves are wrong, but they're accompanied by it. Even scholars have disagreements. So I said, I'm going to stay out of it. They didn't say anything about drums and percussions, and that makes me homesick. And generally speaking, it's the most racist of Muslims or non-Muslims that don't really like drums. So I'm like, hey, look, there we go. But I decided to read these lyrics, and I listened to one chorus to get an idea as to how they placed the music. I remembered that the song was on the radio years ago, but I couldn't remember what year or how old I was. I do remember there was such a song. And I didn't remember that it was Destiny Child that made the song, Destiny's Child. And so in any case, I went ahead and I looked up the lyrics. Now, it was a waste of the musical talent for about the 15 seconds I heard. But I'm going to tell you this. Back then when they put this out, we thought it was cute, thought it was funny. We might have thought it was comical. We may have thought they were just trying to make money off of a trend. I don't feel a guck, and you shouldn't either. Let's look at the whole trend of the hybristophilia and then its celebration in music. Let's look at all of that. Just to be fair and accurate, MC Light was one of the first ladies I can remember saying that she wanted a rough neck. Maybe somebody beat her to it, but the first one I can recall was her. That was 1991 or 92 that I first heard it. Now, when Salt and Pepper came out with What a Mighty Good Man, they said he's a lover and a fighter and a knock another out. Don't take him for a sucker, because that's not what he's about. And maybe it was the reverse. Maybe they said, don't take him for a sucker, because that's not what he's about. He's a lover and a fighter and a knock another out. And I understand that women don't want punks. That's fine. I get that. I'm not saying really that any women should go for the weakest men they can find in terms of personality. But what we're dealing with is not that. We're dealing with an exaggeration of that. We're dealing with a sense of paranoia that they have. I've said before that the problem with the Wicked Witch of the West is that in her zeal to avoid a punk, she mistakes normal men for punks. Men that ain't out here just starting fights and beating everybody up become punks in her eyes. Men that stand up to protect her and still just get knocked unconscious because nobody wins every fight are still punks to her. I saw a video clip in which a man stepped up between his lady and some other dude. The dude knocked him out, and she walked off and left him lying on the sidewalk unconscious. And then they cite nature and biology when they do it. And then here come the matriarchal mandingos and the gynocrat goons backing them up, justifying their exaggerated animalistic hybristophilia by using or behind the cover of their legitimate wish to not get with weak wimp men that protect no one and nothing. I get that. But what they're taking is that legitimate wish, and to a certain extent, I mean, men don't want the women that always get henpecked by the other hens either. But and I'm not saying this to compare women to chickens, but I'm using the term henpecked for a reason. What we ourselves may not look for those types of women, but women don't even understand that. It's funny because women that aren't anywhere near the bottom of the henpecking order amongst women will sit around and try to defend those women from rejection from men. Either. It depends. Does she hate that low-ranking woman more, or does she hate men more? Because if she hates men more, she'll defend that woman, even if she's part of the reason that men don't want this particular woman. She will defend that woman from the man's rejection. But in the end, what I'm getting at is that, see, even when MC Lyte came out with this, a lot of women didn't like it, and I thought that it was what they were saying. Well, she's not really that way anyway. She's always been positive. You know, back in the 80s, it was, I'm MC Lyte, I'm sharp, I can rap, I'm too deep for you, what do you bring to the table? That type thing. And then it came out that, in the end, the unattainable MC Lyte likes roughnecks. Gotta get a roughneck. That was the first time I ever heard her say anything about she gotta get any man. Maybe she did rap about somebody she loved and I didn't hear about it. But the raps you could hear on the radio, or that you could see on BET, Rap City, or Yo MTV Raps, those mostly Rap City, I remember that. And all you could hear her say on Rap City was, I'm deep, I'm MC Lyte, what you say to me is just paper thin. Then, of course, gotta get a roughneck. You never heard her say anything about gotta get this other type of dude. Even when she was talking about what you say to me is just paper thin, you're shallow, you're not that smart, she didn't say I gotta get a man that's sharp and intelligent, because she didn't have to get anybody. Back then, women's desires were the biggest kept secret. So, now we factor in what's going on since then. And don't look at MC Lyte or Destiny's Child's former members and say, well, you know, the times were different. Then no, shuck that fit. Look at them too as though they promoted a further-mucking problem. They may not have started it, but they damn sure promoted it. They were behind it. Destiny's Child was the poster child at one point for that. A soldier's in the military. They take orders from someone else. They were talking about street dudes that refuse to take orders from anybody. Someone is good to me with street credibility. Those two are mutually exclusive in many cases. These dudes don't win points amongst their homies for being good to you. Now, if they brag about how you hold them down, they could get away with it. But everything in there was about what a dope boy could do for her. And how he would like her while being, street credibility. That means he got to be mean to a bunch of other people. Why should he turn around and be kind to her? She's spending his money. They even said that in the song, who's willing to spend that on me. Man, fit the duck out my face. Every line in there was about how they want him because he bad and what he can do for her. Nothing about what they would do for him. And if they talked about what they would do for him, I still would be sitting up here saying it's only because they talking about street dudes. I ain't even talking about guys that come from low-income zip codes either, because they ain't always IDNS. These women were talking about IDNS. Narcotics smoking, harder narcotics selling, don't know where you getting their money from, violence so that women will approve of them, N-words. That's what they were talking about and nothing else. Nothing more positive. They would not accept anything more positive. That was corny to them. We all know it because we've all been there. We've listened to them as they've talked. We've listened to what they say they want. We've actually tried to be these things that they say they want, which is very stupid of us, but we still try to do it. And let's be honest, what do we get for that? What we've gotten for that, for the most part, has been ridicule. Because then when they see that men are willing to do and be these negative things for their attention, then it becomes a competition as to how street you gonna be. First, you just needed to be a thug, especially if she had never been around that life before, especially if she was not thug and grew up Huxtable. If she wasn't street, if she wasn't ratchet and hood. Any level would impress her. A tattoo and a misdemeanor would impress her. Now what is it? When the trend started, that was it. Now she could be in the suburbs, sitting up, and if she realizes that somebody else is more hood than you, that's who she's going for. I want the hood dude. I want the real hood dude. Okay, you got some assault charges, you got a court date, and you facing 5, but he's an escapee from death row. I kid you not. That's what it is nowadays. It don't matter that my dad done already got me admitted into Spelman. No, shuck that fit. I want the escapee from death row. I want to have his baby. Hey girl, listen. I need you to hide something for me. You know that dude that escaped from death row? Yeah, I'm with him now. But I need you to hide this for me. I'll come back and get it. It belongs to him. Anyway, I'm gonna have his baby. And you know the other dude, the one that I thought was street, but he not real street. Yeah, that one. We gonna tell him it's his baby, okay? I mean, it's like now the dude that at the beginning of the trend could have got the suburban chick that grew up Huxtable is now the one getting cucked. That's what we're facing. And this is another reason I've said, dude, now you understand why I'm telling you, do not respect her preferences. This is another reason for it. This is more evidence for what I'm saying. We have historical memory of this. If you respect her preferences, she will not respect anything about you. She already doesn't. She's looking at you like, okay, if you like it, then it must be too good for you to have. So I'm going to make sure I don't bring that to the table. You like it, why should I? That's how they are. You like it? No, absolutely not. Oh, you like a big chest? Well, mine, since my memories are big and you like that, I'm going to bring a terrible attitude to make it not even worth it for you. Just because you like this. So I'm going to bring in some bad attitude. And so when brothers started to like what we were becoming, more positive, less stereotypical, and not just that way by fact, but that way intentionally being more positive and less stereotypical than what we were stereotyped to be, we started to enjoy that. Because remember, that was in the 80s on the heels of our parents beginning or being allowed to make a bit more money than they'd made before. Guess what wound up happening? You know, when the black middle class began to rise, well, you think about it. It starts to rise in late 60s. Okay, late 60s. The rise accelerates in the 70s and 80s. And then by 1991, you got to be a thug. Now, I understand our enemies were going to do something like that if they could. But again, as I've always said, if our enemies did this, why did Boom Shika, Bonquisha, and Sapphire go along with it? At what point were they going to say, oh, this is crazy. This don't even make no further mucking sense. I'm not going to go along with this. At what point were they going to say that? They never were. And the reason is because that was too convenient for you. Because staying out of jail and prison was too convenient for you. I kid you not. You know what? I would bet you that one of the reasons why sisters aren't pushing for conjugal visits in most states, even though they like the dudes that are behind bars, I bet you that one of the reasons they ain't pushing for conjugal visits in most states in these prisons is actually because they think that would simply be, even for the men they like, they think that would be too good. These women, sisters, if they lobbied for that, they could get it. And they ain't lobbying for it. Even though the men, they want the men that go behind bars, they ain't pushing for that. And that's, again, as I said last time in part 2, this is one of those things that is motivated more so by evil and contempt for you than it is by a lack of benefit for them. That's all that is. They want the dudes to go behind bars, but they don't lobby for conjugal visits to get it. To get these guys. That's because they know these men can't be held to responsibility for these things. I mean, they're already in the prison. So there's not much they can be held to be accountable for it. It's actually the lack of consequences, the lack of stress through which they can put these men, and the amount of stress relief through which they would put these men that motivates them to not lobby for conjugal visits for inmates. There is no such lobby. In Kenya even, you got lady inmates lobbying for conjugal visits rights, but then somebody brought up the question, then what about male inmates? And they're like, oh, well, they're inmates. Why should they? Forgetting that they're inmates too. Lobbying for conjugal visits so that they can get a little relief from men in the free world. But, male inmates, why? They're inmates. They don't care. And this is in Kenya. Makes me wonder exactly where do they actually care as much about black men as they want black men to care about them? Or just the black men in their own society? In which part of the world do they actually care about these men equally to how they want the men to care about them? I ask you that question because I don't know what that is. I mean, at the very least, people can say that in Southeast Tropical Asia, they care in the private context of their own private relationships. At the very least, people could say that. That's what people are coming back, and mostly brothers are saying, because they're the ones talking about how well they're being treated. Man, it ain't always the mayonnaise mafiosos. The mayonnaise mafiosos say, yeah, if she likes you, she's going to treat you well, which is more than what Boom Shika going to do, because if she likes you, she's still looking for her friends to give it a green light to treat you well. Her lonely, single, bitter friends that want her to go back being single and join the rest of them. Or that are going to make up a man to rub in her face if she's single and they can front like they not. But in Southeast Tropical Asia, the mayonnaise mafioso men are saying that pretty much if she likes you, she will treat you well. But if not, she's going to take you for all your dough. And brothers are like, yeah, but they ain't trying to take all my dough. So what does this mean? Matter of fact, some brothers are saying she coming to me with some money. What does this mean? That means that they're the ones most likely to try to get that mayonnaise man for his money, turn around and be willing to share it with a June bug, with a shine. And I say those words not as insults, but as compliments. With a bruh. One of us'ns. That's what that means to me. I'm waiting on a brother, and it ain't because brothers don't never talk about this stuff when it happens to them. Yeah, granted, it may be something embarrassing to admit to people you don't necessarily know for us. We do pride ourselves on that image, but at the end of the day, bros ain't sitting up here staying messing with chicks that are always trying to get them out their money. You got brothers that are now sitting up and saying, I ain't going to Sosua anymore. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but I've seen the name written multiple times. You got brothers saying they're not going to the DR anymore, or they're not going to Sosua anymore, specific parts, because of that very thing. They keep getting hit up just for the money. Like, wait a minute. So you bounce up and down on me once, and I'm supposed to buy you the latest iPhone? Man, fit the guck out my face with that short bit. That's what brothers are saying. Some brothers are saying, man, look, I'm even done with Colombia now. I don't know how bad it's really getting. But I told you, brothers, if you pay for play, you're going to pay and pay and pay and pay. That's not because their culture is as bad as the West. It's just because you're still paying. You're still paying to play once. I've been saying, brothers, it's better to go and try to find you a wife. Because then you're going to be more careful. But that's another recording for another day. Right now, what I wanted to drop home is the point. The gentleman, you cannot afford to respect their preferences, let alone their standards and requirements. And one of them, because their requirements require you to either get locked up or get buried. As I've said before, get buried alive on a cell block or get buried dead in a graveyard. Either way, you got to get buried to validate yourself to them. And they're singing about this openly. They've been doing it for decades at this point. I don't know how long ago it was that MC Lyte came out with that song, 91 or 92. It was one of those years. Maybe I'm wrong and it was 93. Whatever the case was, it was almost 30 years ago. If you can find that, then let me ask you this. Why is it? You can go back and see that. Why is it, just to prove that we've made things too easy, why has there been no rap or song condemning the Klingon B word for her hybristophilia in our community and its effects? Now, you've had dudes brag about doing the dirt that broads want them to do, then turning around and saying that these broads ain't nothing but B words. You've had that, but you ain't had nobody get up and condemn these women for demanding that men either go to the penitentiary or go to the graveyard trying to validate themselves behind them. It has not been put into art form. And I'm going to tell you straight. This, again, is proof of the other thing that I said. We're too easy. There is why we are guilty and for what we should take accountability and nothing else. I think I explained it well enough for now. I don't know if there will be a part 4 or not, but thank you for listening to parts 1, 2, and 3. And you understand, again, I further explained why this time I will not be, just as I did not start out with the peace intro, I will not be closing out with the peace greeting. But I will say black heart. And you know why I say black heart, black mind, black out, black heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.